Thank you for joining us for this special pro-life response to the State of the Union. I'm Catherine Hadro. President Donald Trump delivered his 2026 State of the Union address to a joint session of Congress last night in what was the longest State of the Union address, coming in at 1 hour and 47 minutes. The word abortion was not mentioned once. While not addressing the pro-life issue directly, the president did, however, highlight pro-family policies.
Tax-free investment accounts for every American child. This is something that's so special and has taken off and gone through the roof. Millions will be pre-funded courtesy of the U.S. Treasury and private individuals like Michael and Susan Dell, who have donated $6.25 billion to fund the Trump accounts for 25 million American children.
The president went on to endorse Trump RX, a new government-run website designed to help consumers find lower drug prices. He highlighted the first customer of Trump RX was a woman who turned to in vitro fertilization drugs amid her struggle with infertility.
Catherine Rayner. For 5 years, she and her husband have struggled with infertility, and they turned to IVF. One drug has been costing Catherine $4,000 to purchase. But a few weeks ago, she logged onto the Trump RX website and got that same drug that cost $4,000, got it for under $500, a reduction of much more, actually, than $3,500. Catherine, we are all praying for you, and you're going to be a great mom.
The Catholic Church does declare IVF is morally unacceptable because it creates life outside of the marital act and often includes the destruction of human life. The president's avoidance of the abortion issue last night is further evidence of his distancing relationship with the pro-life coalition during his second term. It's also a stark contrast to previous State of the Union speeches from President Trump's first term. Here is the president on the gruesome nature of late-term abortion from his 2019 address.
Lawmakers in New York cheered with delight upon the passage of legislation that would allow a baby to be ripped from the mother's womb moments from birth. These are living, feeling, beautiful babies who will never get the chance to share their love and their dreams with the world. And then we had the case of the governor of Virginia, where he stated he would execute a baby after birth. To defend the dignity of every person, I am asking Congress to pass legislation to prohibit the late-term abortion of children who can feel pain in the mother's womb.
Among the pro-lifers paying close attention to the president's remarks was the president of Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America, Marjorie Dannenfelser. Marjorie, you join us in studio now with your pro-life response. Thank you so much. How would you summarize your response to the President's State of the Union?
Well, I think it should be said that it was a good speech, as speeches go, as long as it was. But there's a glaring omission, and that is addressing the most urgent needs of the pro-life movement, which he helped lead in the overturn of Roe v. Wade, which he claims many times. The glaring omission is, and the urgent need, is to address the problem of drugs flooding into pro-life states and every state all over the country, causing the abortion rate to rise, killing children and harming women. This has to be addressed. He had a great opportunity to talk about some of the victims of this last night. It would have been perfect. It didn't happen. We're still pressing, and we're never giving up.
Were you surprised to not hear the word abortion?
Here's the thing. We've been struggling. There's no question about it. We are definitely not in there working out pro-life policies in the White House right now. That we're just not doing that, and it's a decision at the White House. So while I was disappointed, I wasn't 100% surprised. But I think that we, as Americans, should be insisting that there be an addressing of this most urgent need. I tell you what, you don't have to be pro-life or pro-choice. You can insist that women get the care they should have. They should be with a doctor. Shouldn't be getting stuff in the mail that is a pimp or a trafficker or an ex-boyfriend puts in your drink. We should at least insist on this as a common sense thing to do. The whole speech was full of great, vivid, human details. This should have been there.
You know, and we played that clip from 2019, the president's speech then, where he spoke very clearly and boldly on the life issue. You worked closely with the president around that time. Can you shed more insight, that contrast between then and now?
I saw great passion the night before that speech in 2019, and really being kind of appalled and sickened by what Governor Northam was willing to allow. We had a conversation with a handful of other people right before that speech last time, and he was bold, as you say. His capacity for leadership on this is tremendous. Right now, he's decided to set it aside. And that is a great tragedy for the unborn children and the moms of this country. I think we've just seen Trump 1 was a beautiful example of pro-life leadership. Trump 2 is a disappointment in many ways.
Why is he doing this, do you think? I mean, is this a politically strategic move on his part, especially ahead of the midterms?
Yes, he believes that this is going to hurt midterm possibilities for Republicans. But the reality is the opposite. You cannot win without your base in battleground states, in the Senate and the House. And if you lose the base, the pro-life base, you lose. You cannot afford to lose 1 or 2% of the vote. We've done some massive, important polling that shows that fully a third of voters will be less likely to vote for the Republican candidate if the Republicans are perceived as leaving the pro-life issue behind. Also, a third of potential volunteers say they're less inclined to volunteer in campaigns. This is not a small issue.
So you're saying the pro-life grassroots, they're still very motivated by the abortion issue. But then why are we not seeing that reflected in the administration?
They're very motivated. I think it really is just now coming to people who are just regular people living their lives every day, that all of a sudden they're realizing, wow, the abortion rate went up. I'm now reading about these horror stories in my state where women are being force-fed these pills, and they're now just coming to the point where they're realizing there is a huge problem. There's a lawlessness in terms of the pharmaceutical industry allowing all of these drugs to flood into the states. I think it's just, this is the moment. Let's put it that way. I think they're waking up. There is enthusiasm for the pro-life cause, without question, but our elected officials must lead, and certainly the president is in a position to lead as he has in the past beautifully, and we need that.
With him, and tell me if this is an accurate depiction, with him not leading on the pro-life issue right now, in your opinion, what's the impact on the movement there?
I think it's a serious problem. I think you've seen it, Catherine. I think that when you don't have that strong leadership at the top, at this historic moment, just a handful of years out from Dobbs, you have confusion, you have a lack of vision, a lack of clarity about where we should be going as a nation. You find people getting frustrated and perhaps extreme, calling for the jailing of women, because there's really no great vision at the top saying, this is how we serve the unborn child. This is how we serve women who are finding themselves in difficult situations. You have to have that. It just is important. That's why it's important. It's never too late. He should do it now, but also while we're looking to the next election, to be looking at who might be that person who can lead in the post-Dobbs era.
Do you mind sharing this distancing from the pro-life issue, this less of an embrace? Are you seeing that throughout the White House as well, and the team that is surrounding the president?
Here's what I see. I see massive numbers, I mean, truly throughout the administration and in the White House, very strongly pro-life people. This decision comes from the top. It is definitely a decision of the president to distance himself from the abortion issue because he thinks it's going to lead to losses in the midterms. Ironically, there will be losses in the midterms if we don't have some leadership on this issue. Somehow silence on this one issue seems to be a politically smart decision on the part of the president and a few around him. It's not politically smart. It's not only the wrong thing to do, it's the politically incompetent thing to do.
You always say, life is a winning issue.
It is indeed.
And yet, we're going to have abortion on the ballot in a few different states. That's been hard for the pro-life movement to get those passed. But there have been some examples.
It's a function of the same problem. It's the need for leadership at the top. The governor, thank Governor DeSantis, who did it beautifully. It has to be a leadership at the top who uses the power of his presidency or governorship, the party, the grassroots, raise money. All that has to happen in order to combat the other side and to advance a beautiful vision. If it doesn't happen, is only silence on our end or on the end of the people who are in charge, then we have a huge vision and reality problem. We lose.
So what's your message to the grassroots pro-life movement right now? We have to be speaking up. What should we be doing?
We have to be speaking up. We have to be insisting for that type of leadership. I think we ought to be communicating constantly with your congressman and your senator. Now more than ever that matters, because there is very strong leadership in the House and the Senate. It's unfortunately the administration right now on the drug issue that's the problem.
And I want to hit on that. And you mentioned this earlier, because the reality of the matter is that abortions have gone up.
That's right.
Since the 2022 Supreme Court Dobbs decision that reversed Roe v. Wade, largely because of abortion pills and quote unquote telehealth.
That's right.
Where these abortion pills are being dispersed. What do you want to see from the Trump administration right now to reverse that trend?
Just restore the policy to what he had in the first administration, which was that there has to be a prescription, it has to be a doctor visit. There's no sending it through the mail. Biden changed that during COVID, said no prescription, no problem, send it through the mail, and then all this disastrous effect has happened with all these women all over the country. Just restore it to what he had before. Take it out of the mail and have an in-person doctor visit, and it won't be happy. We don't want any drugs out there that are killing babies, but at least there will not be this incredible this lawlessness, there's no better word, and flooding of pills into strongly pro-life states. I mean, think about it. The states that have passed strong pro-life protections, 20 states, their laws are basically being nullified by this drug because it's overcoming any ability to enforce the law.
Yeah, any state line. And I mean, we have this headline here just yesterday in Montgomery County, a man was charged after secretly administering the abortion drug against the mother's own will. But you hear stories like this.
It's coming out weekly. That baby's name was Presley May. The mom couldn't wait to have this baby come into her life. He disagreed. He kept trying to convince her. And so he just got the pills online, slipped it in her drink, and baby Presley May is no more. She's in heaven. But it is heartbreaking, and it's happening every day. And honestly, where is the women's movement on the left that is allowing this to happen and saying nothing? I find instances like this moments where the hypocrisy is really shown. There should be a standing up for at least the women who are being coerced and who are being secretly poisoned and having abortions. This one was a stillborn baby, had to have been around 20 weeks for it to be stillborn. Obviously, this pill is only supposed to be used up to 10 weeks. And so the horrors that are occurring every day, it just has to stop.
When it comes to those calls for safeguards and guardrails to be put on place, the FDA began its review in September on abortion pills. As of now, no action has been taken to further that. You've been calling on the FDA.
No action. Yeah. Certainly we have been. Certainly the House has. The Senate has attorneys general all over the country. On the day of the State of the Union message yesterday, Liz Muriel was arguing in federal court, the Attorney General of Louisiana. She's suing the FDA for the lack of oversight. I think this hopefully will get into a court situation which will be helpful. But in the meantime, today, those rules could be reestablished surrounding the distribution of the drug, and they should be. There's no reason not.
Yeah. You know, we mentioned the topic of abortion specifically was not mentioned in the State of the Union address, but the life issue did come up when President Trump highlighted the story of a woman who has been struggling with infertility, and she became the first patient to use the Trump RX website seeking medication for IVF treatment. Again, I think it's important to state, because IVF creates life outside of the marital act, and there's often the destruction of embryos, the church is clear it is always morally unacceptable and encourages couples to embrace other methods that are not contrary to church teaching. But Marjorie, just as a Catholic pro-life leader, we had that IVF mention in the State of the Union address. What's your reaction and your thoughts there?
Well, I think their desire was to have a pro-family agenda, and they've decided that they're not going to do it in the pro-life lane. So we're going to go over here and address the real distress that so many women have in infertility. There is an area that they've been working on, which is restorative fertility, which is fantastic, supportive of that. But what we have to say is, if this doesn't have to continue, but if it does, there should be guardrails there too. And that is not, we're not hearing that. When I say guardrails, don't destroy embryos. Don't destroy the tiniest children that are in pursuit of something that is beautiful and wonderful, the desire to be a mother and a father. We can't destroy others. So while the White House isn't a Catholic institution, it can be certainly affected by our moral teaching and by our intellectual arguments about what's right and wrong.
And that call to conscience there.
That's right.
You know, here we are, it's February 2026. Do you have hope that pro-life leaders such as yourself can influence the president before the next State of the Union address in 2027? Are you hoping there will be a difference
have
there?
hope.
Yeah.
No one ever gave up on me when I was pro-choice. I never give up hope. We're praying daily, and I believe that he's also surrounded by great pro-life people. I think he knows the great thing that he did and the overturn of Roe v. Wade, his part in that, and I think there's a lot to work with. I think that he is uniquely for him afraid. And it's not many people see fear in this president. I see fear there, and that has led to a lack of leadership, and that is leads to the death of so many children. So yes, I'm obviously hopeful, but I think we also are realistic in planning for who the next president will be.
And with that, Marjorie Dannenfelser, president of Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America, thank you for your call to clarity.
Thank you, Catherine.